Have you ever seen a photo online that made you stop and rub your eyes because you couldn't believe what you were seeing? In the world of politics, we expect things to be serious, professional, and maybe even a little bit boring. But every once in a while, a story breaks that completely flips the script. Today, we are talking about one of the most famous women in American political history, Sarah Palin. For years, headlines have swirled around the internet claiming there is a topless photo of her that leaves absolutely nothing to the imagination. People have shared it, whispered about it, and used it to judge her character. But is this photo even real? Or is it one of the biggest and most successful tricks in the history of the internet? Today, we are going deep into the life of the woman they called Sarah Barracuda to find out how a small-town girl from Alaska became the center of a global scandal. You need to watch this video until the very end because we are going to reveal the truth behind that viral image, and the real story of how it was created will change the way you look at everything you see online. Before we get into the scandals, we have to understand who Sarah Palin really is. Long before she was a household name, she was just Sarah Heath, a girl growing up in the cold, beautiful wild of Alaska. She wasn't interested in sitting still. She was a star athlete on her high school basketball team, known for being so tough and aggressive that her teammates gave her the nickname Sarah Barracuda. This name stuck with her for a reason. She was a fighter from the start. But she also had a side that loved the spotlight. She entered beauty pageants and even became Miss Wasilla, eventually finishing as a runner-up in the Miss Alaska pageant. Back then, no one could have guessed that her past in beauty pageants would later be used against her by people trying to prove she wasn't serious enough for politics. Sarah's rise to power was incredibly fast. She started on the city council, then became the mayor of her small town, and before anyone knew it, she was the governor of Alaska. She was young, she was energetic, and she didn't act like a typical politician. She was a hockey mom who could hunt, fish, and take care of her 5 children while running an entire state. This unique image made her very popular. But everything changed in 2008. That was the year John McCain chose her to be his vice presidential running mate. Almost overnight, she went from being a governor in a distant state to one of the most famous people on the planet. And that is when the media, the internet, and the critics started looking for anything they could find to bring her down. When you become that famous, that fast, people start digging into your past. They wanted to find a secret, a mistake, or something embarrassing. Because Sarah had been in beauty pageants and was a very attractive woman, many people started focusing on her looks rather than her ideas. This is where the indecent labels began to appear. Critics tried to say she was just a pretty face and didn't have the brains to be a leader. But then, something much more shocking happened. A photo started appearing on websites all over the world. It showed a woman who looked exactly like Sarah Palin, wearing a very tiny American flag bikini and holding a gun. Some versions of the photo were even more revealing, leading to the topless headlines that we see today. This photo went viral before going viral was even a common phrase. It was everywhere. Millions of people looked at it and believed it was real. They thought, how could a woman running for vice president pose for a photo like this? The image was used to mock her and to claim she was indecent. It fit the narrative that her critics wanted to tell, that she was more of a model or a celebrity than a serious politician. But here's the catch. If you look closely at the history of that image, you find a very different story. Stay tuned, because we are about to break down exactly how that photo was made and why it fooled so many people for so long. The truth is, the photo was a total fake. It was one of the earliest and most famous examples of photoshopping a celebrity to create a scandal. Someone had taken a photo of a completely different woman in a bikini and digitally placed Sarah Palin's head onto that body. Today, we are used to seeing deepfakes and edited photos, but back in 2008, many people didn't realize how easy it was to create a fake image that looked so real. Even though the photo was proven to be a hoax, the damage was done. The image stayed in people's minds. It created an idea of Sarah Palin as someone indecent, even though she had never actually posed for any photo like that. It shows how a single lie, if it's visual, can follow a person for the rest of their life. But the topless and indecent rumors didn't stop with just one fake photo. Because Sarah was a woman in a male-dominated world, she was treated differently than the men around her. People obsessed over her clothes, her hair, and her glasses. There were even rumors about her personal life and her family that were meant to make her look bad. Some people used the word indecent to describe her because she was loud, bold, and didn't follow the traditional rules of how a lady in politics should behave. She was a woman who wasn't afraid to speak her mind, and for some people, that was more shocking than any photo could ever be. After the 2008 election, Sarah Palin didn't just disappear. She became a huge star in the world of reality TV and political commentary. She had her own show called Sarah Palin's Alaska, where she showed off her life in the wilderness. She was still a mother, a hunter, and a politician, all rolled into one. But even as she tried to move on, the indecent label followed her. Every time she wore a dress that someone thought was too short, or every time she made a joke that was a bit edgy, the headlines would come back. It seemed like the world was determined to see her in a certain way, no matter what she actually did. One of the most surprising moments in her later career was when she appeared on the hit show, The Masked Singer. She was dressed up as a giant bear and performed a rap song. For many people, this was indecent in a different way. They thought it was beneath a former governor to do something so silly. But Sarah didn't care. She was having fun and showing that she didn't take herself too seriously. She has always been a person who refuses to be put in a box. If people wanted her to be a quiet, serious politician, she was going to be a loud, fun-loving reality star. If people wanted her to be ashamed of her beauty, she was going to embrace it. Now that Sarah is in her 60s, she is still making headlines. Recently, she ran for office again in Alaska, showing that her political fire hasn't gone out. But the internet is a place that never forgets. If you search her name today, you will still find those old, fake photos and those headlines about her being indecent. It is a reminder of the dark side of fame. For a woman like Sarah, your image is often taken away from you and turned into something you don't recognize. She has spent years fighting against a version of herself that was created by people who didn't even know her. Sarah Palin remains a figure who divides people. To some, she is a hero who stood up for her beliefs and stayed true to her roots. To others, she is a celebrity who focused more on fame than on fixing problems. But when we look at the indecent rumors, we see a woman who has been a target of some of the meanest tricks in media history. She has survived the fake photos, the mean jokes, and the constant judgment, and she is still standing. She is still Sarah Barracuda, ready to fight the next battle. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into the truth behind the headlines. It's so easy to get caught up in the gossip, but when you take the time to look at the facts, you see a much bigger picture. Sarah Palin's journey from a small-town basketball player to a global political icon is a story of grit, fame, and the power of the internet to change lives. We hope this video gave you a new perspective on how celebrities and politicians are treated in the digital age. If you want to see more videos that uncover the truth behind the world's most famous scandals, make sure to keep watching our content. There are so many stories out there that are much more than what they seem on the surface. Stay curious, keep questioning the headlines, and we will see you in the next one.